Hi guys, and welcome to this episode of the Happy Knitting Podcast. My name is Julia, I'm coming to you from the UK, and today is May 29th, 2023. I'm so glad you're joining me today to talk about some knitting, some yarn, and just some general crafty chat. So I think today is going to be a quick episode. I just have a couple of projects I wanted to catch you up on, and yeah, honestly, it hasn't been a ton of knitting because basically I was sick for most of the week, which was not fun, especially because Kai was in London with working, and I was basically alone with a toddler on the day that it was the worst. So anyways, not super much knitting got done, but I am feeling better now. And I did want to show you a couple of garments mainly that I've been working on. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it. I have been thinking about the length of podcasts that I make. I tend to be on the shorter side anyways, and I think in terms of what fits into my life and lifestyle, making like shorter, like 20 to 30 minute episodes works best for me. Like I'd rather have sort of shorter updates on stuff, but have them very regular rather than having stuff pile up over 2 or 3 weeks and then recording these really long episodes. But yeah, let me know what you think. What do you prefer? I just know for myself, I don't really have the time to ever sit down for a podcast that's like 1 hour, 1.5 hours at a time. I just don't have that sort of time in like big chunks. So I quite prefer shorter podcasts, but obviously I'm interested in your preferences and opinions. Not saying I will then do what you want, but it'll be good to know. Anyways, quick one today. I have a finished object. My finished object is my Anchors sweater, which is a pattern by Petite Knit. Essentially, it is a very simple top-down sweater with a beautiful ribbed yoke. I really like the look of this. This is my 4th rendition of this pattern. Although I will say, the first one I made turned out so great. And I've basically been trying to recreate that, and I don't think I've managed. So the first one I made out of a JC Rennie yarn, like this beautiful charcoal, slightly tweedy, flecky yarn, and it's just turned into like this beautiful oversized sort of sweatshirt. The second one I made out of a BC yarn, which was fine, but I think I made it a little bit too fitted, so I'm not really wearing it. The third one I made a cotton t-shirt, so I basically just, I only ever buy have bought the DK weight version, but I think it works for quite a lot of different yarns because it's like a 21 stitch gauge. So for the t-shirt, I just made short sleeves and it's a t-shirt. And I do wear that cotton tee quite a lot. And so now for this one, I've used Blacker Swan Falkland Island wool in their 4-ply version, which I would say is about a sport weight yarn. It's 175 meters per 50 grams. And again, it's turned out fine, but I think I wanted more positive ease. Obviously, it is a ribbed yoke, so that's always going to pull it in a bit. And that's why I'm thinking maybe I just need to pick different patterns. I mean, maybe 4 Anchor sweaters are also enough, who knows. But yeah, I mean, it does have ease, but I think the way the yarn also works, it just sort of tends to pull in. So it's turned into more of a fitted sweater once again. But I do like it, and I mean, obviously now it's gonna go hide in a closet until autumn anyway, so we'll see how I feel about it then. This is color Mountain Berry, in the case you were wondering. So this is done. It has a stitch marker attached to it. Honestly, I don't even think I have blocked this. I'm just thinking about it now, because I got sick. I had finished this, had it lying around, I got sick, and then I just put it on. So I've never even blocked it. So I think blocking this might help, because you can see there's a little bit of puckering here, and that should block out, and maybe that'll solve all of my issues. Can't believe I just figured that out. I mean, I'm such a beginner at the moment. I'm not, but I'm making rookie mistakes, which you will see later on. Anyways, this is finished. Obviously now, as we've just found out, it needs a block, but other than that, it is finished. And yeah, I do quite like the color. As you can tell, I've changed my hair. I've dyed it for the first time in I think 10 years, and it feels so weird. I'm still a little bit on the fence about it, to be honest. I really liked it when it was all done. And now 3 days later, I keep going like, oh, I don't know, did I ruin my hair? But I don't think I did. It's just different, and different things sort of look different now. I mean, how's that for a sentence? Anyways, I've not had enough coffee today, but we'll just press on. This is done, anchor sweater, petite knits, that's it. Moving on to some works in progress. Let's talk about this one first. I am getting closer to finishing my Lento by Jonna Hietala. I'm not going to go into detail about the Lento because I talk about it every single episode of this podcast at the moment because I'm always knitting on one. This is Lento number 4. I am using this light blue yarn, which is from Uppingham Yarns. It's a British wool. It's like a very light fingering, very affordable, and I'm holding it double with a lilac-y mohair from Nori Yarns, which I can't show you because I'm currently at the point where I need to find another ball of mohair. I ran out, which is why I stopped knitting on it last night. But I do have another ball of this flying around somewhere, so I just need to find it. So I finished the body, which is a little bit cropped, but it looks really cropped just because it's a very wide sweater. It isn't that cropped on me. And I am very close to finishing the first sleeve, so then I have one more sleeve to go, and this will be done. I'm sorry, the light today isn't super great because the sun is just shining in through my loft windows. But I think you get the idea. It's maybe a little bit more sort of blue-purple rather than grey, but it's a really beautiful color. I really love it. It matches my nails. And yeah, Lento number 4. I think this may be my last Lento for a while, but who knows. Maybe by the next time we talk, I'll have another one on the needles. You never know with Lentos and me, but I am still really enjoying them. So that is that. And then I did cast on a new garment. Another top-down raglan. I'm so boring with my knitting at the moment. I'm really sorry if you're wanting to watch like adventurous knitting content and new techniques. This is probably not the podcast for you. I just don't have the brain space. I mean, I have a 2.5-year-old running around all day. And then by the time I have knitting time, I just really want simple knits. And also, I think for my wardrobe at the moment, I'm just actually in need of simple like throw-on sweaters. And all these like top-down raglans and stuff, they're just really easy to wear. So this is the Tolsta tee. It's by Kreya Bear, who is Rebecca Clow, I believe. It's basically a pattern for a top-down cotton t-shirt, and she gives you ideas on modifications you can make, like stripes or eyelets and all of that stuff. So it's basically just like a blank canvas, which you can then use to make it your own. In terms of the pattern, I mean, I could have used any of the top-down raglans I already have in my stash. There's also free raglan sweaters, but honestly, I prefer sometimes to just spend like the £6-7, whatever it is, and then spend my time knitting rather than figuring out numbers or, you know, just messing with stuff. Sometimes just letting someone else who is a designer do the work for me, and then I can just knit. I think that works really well. And as you can tell with some of the patterns I've been talking about recently, I make them over and over again. So then obviously the pattern is a lot more worth it if you just keep making it. So yeah, I decided to go for the Tolsta. I'm also using the original yarn. This is the Woolly Knit Cotton, which you hold double, but I'm also waiting for the fingering version of this tee because I think that'll be quite useful. Having said that, holding this double, I'm not a huge fan of plant fibers. Like a lot of cottons and linens I don't like, and they're icky and they make my fingers hurt or they're really rough. But this is beautiful. I'm really enjoying this yarn, and I'm not sponsored by anyone. It's just, it doesn't knit up like a wool, but it almost feels like knitting with wool. Like it's really soft. It's not sort of like you don't feel like you're just knitting with like a piece of string. So I'm really enjoying it. I don't know if it's like the holding a double as well that makes it a little bit more squishy. And the fabric that I'm getting, which is to the gauge that this is designed for, I think it's like a 17 stitch gauge. It's loose, but it's not see-through, so it's actually, I think it's going to be really comfortable to wear. It's really nice and drapey. I'm really enjoying it. So I am doing 10 rows of the beige, which is called natural beige, and 2 rows of the magenta. To be honest, I wanted really skinny stripes, and everything was telling me to do 1 row stripes, and Kai and all the pictures, everyone was telling me to do 2 row stripes, and I think I should have gone with my gut. I think I would have liked these stripes to be even skinnier, but it does look cute. I do like it. So I think my next one I might do skinnier stripes, and I mean I have so much yarn because I have 3 cones. I have 1 cone of this, which I think they're 400 grams. I have a pink cone, which I haven't brought with me. I just wind off a little bit at a time. And I have this mustard yellow, which is glorious. And I think my next one, I might do yellow with skinny white stripes. Although previously I was thinking of doing like equally white stripes of both. And that would also be really cute. I don't know. But I'm loving this combination as well. So I think I'm already plotting my next one. I've only been knitting on this for, I don't know, 2 days. And as you can tell, I've finished the yoke and I have split for the sleeves and body. And I have also dropped a ton of stitches, which is quite impressive. Anyways, so I was knitting on this while watching F1 yesterday, and this is how much I knit. So it's going really fast, and once I pick up all these stitches, which... don't worry, I will pick them up. Don't be freaked out. Yeah, I think it's gonna be finished quite soon, which is good because we finally have warmer weather in the UK. I mean, we don't today. Today it is quite cool and breezy, but it has been quite warm, and I think it's going to be warm again soon. So that is my toaster tea, and I've somehow managed to make a mess with all of my yarns, but we'll just ignore that for now. Next up, I have worked a bit on my Cinnabar shawl, which is a pattern by Andrea Mallory. It's a brioche shawl, which is now getting a bit too big for my needles, so you can't really show it that well. But I showed this to you last week. It's been growing a fair bit. I think I've added like 3 to 4 inches to this. So you have brioche with these brioche stripes, which are actually really fun to knit. And then also this sort of 2-color garter stitch, which I really like. And the yarns that I'm using for this are some really old stash Shetland BC yarn. I think this may be discontinued, but I'm not sure. And I am pairing it with this color changing sort of handspun looking sock yarn. This is Queensland Perth sock. And I really like this yarn. I picked this up at Beautiful Knitters in London last year. And I mean, I was planning to use this for socks, and I put it in my 1,000 grams of yarn basket that I talked about in the previous episodes, where you try to knit through sock weight yarn. Like, I picked out 1 kilo of sock yarns, put them in a basket, and I'm just trying to knit through that, just to get stuff out of stash and use stuff up and actually knit with stuff rather than have it linger. So I'm happy I'm using it, but I also would really like to use this for socks because it feels really beautiful. It's really soft. It's got like a long like gradient sort of effect. So maybe I need to go back and get myself more of this yarn. Who knows? So yeah, that is my Cinnabar shawl. And then I have also picked up my socks again, and these are also in my basket of yarns to use up. This is the color changing Gusto Wool Echoes yarn. So Gusto Wool, I think they have like a variegated yarn line. Is it called Carmen? I'm not sure. And they have this one which is called Echoes, and they have several different colorways that are sort of like really long gradients, and you get 2 skeins of yarn, like 2 matching 50-gram skeins, which I have bound up really badly to make yourself matching gradient socks. So I have had these on my needles for a while, but didn't really make any progress. This is where I was when I last showed them to you. And as you can see, I have picked them up, I've knit a long leg, I've knit a heel, and I'm now 2/3 done with the foot. So these have actually been really, really fun. I don't even know when I knit these. I think when I was in my I'm feeling very sick, but I need to do something with my hands phase, I just knit on these socks. And as you can see, I just didn't do any color management with the heel. I just put it in when it felt right. And you know what? Because the color change is so long with this yarn, I think I get away with it really, really well. Like, you know, if you're using like a self-striping or a really fast sort of changing yarn, and you don't change colors for the heel, you'll get a weird line here. But with this one, you can barely notice. So I think it's turned out really well, and I am loving these colors. We're now gonna go into like blues and greens, and then I don't think I'm gonna be using all of this yarn. But yeah, I'm really enjoying these, and again, using up yarn, which is fun. Talking about tube socks or like long socks, I did finish the socks that I showed you last week, my tube socks using funky fiber yarns. But I didn't really see the point in showing them to you again because they're basically almost done last week. So they are done. They are no longer in my whip pile. I just didn't bring them to show you. And you know what? That is basically it in terms of my knitting. I think I've done maybe one square of my prism blanket. So I'm now officially over 50% done. But again, one block more or less doesn't really change it. So once I've made like significantly more progress, I will show it to you again. Yeah, you guys, that is it in terms of my knitting for this week. I did get my birthday present. I didn't bring it to show you. Should I bring it? Let's bring it. Alright, I did actually stop to pick up the stitches on my Tolster as well. So now you don't need to worry about that anymore. My Tolster is no longer falling apart. But I'm not sure if I talked about this, but I have been thinking about getting another set of interchangeable needles because I own 2 sets of interchangeable needles, but one of them I don't use. Years and years and years ago, I bought myself the Knit Pro Nova interchangeable set, and I don't like it. The joints are always a bit clunky, and I feel like this sounds horrible, but with Knit Pro, sometimes they're really great, and sometimes they're not. Like, the quality just varies massively, which is a pain if you're trying to, like, rely on needles, and you obviously want them to be the same quality every time. So I don't really use them. I should be selling them or just do something with it. I think they're really good for a beginner, but just with the amount of, like, time I spend knitting, I have high expectations of my needles, and I don't want to be wasting my time with, like, snaggy joins and stuff like that. Anyways, so basically for the last, I don't know, couple of years, all I use are these, which are the Xiaogu interchangeables. So mine are a mess because I actually use this case to bring on holiday, and I just like stuff everything else in there as well. So excuse the mess, let's just remove that for now. So I just have the small set because most interchangeable needle sets, they go up to these like massive sizes, and I'm never ever going to use anything more than like a 5mm needle. So I only have the small set, and this is what it looks like. I think the only needle I bought additionally to the set is the 3mm, because somehow they have 2.75 and 3.25 but no 3mm, which I actually use quite a bit. So I did buy that. But yeah, this has been the only interchangeable needle set I've been using for a long time. I also use fixed circulars, like just depending on the project, but I do love my Xiaogu. Again, not sponsored, just my honest opinion. But then very, very recently I started just trying out different needles, and I've sort of been feeling like wooden needles. So what I did to start with is I ordered a single needle of these Lykke blush needles. So you may remember a few years ago, everyone was using Lykke needles and talking about how to pronounce them, and it was like this huge hype. I totally didn't get it then, and now that no one is talking about them anymore, suddenly I get it. And I actually really like them. So I tried out a couple of different ones, but these ones I really enjoy, and I promise it's not just because they're pink. Actually, I just like them because I like a metal needle because they're quick to knit with, but sometimes they're sort of if you knit a lot, like you can feel it on your hands, and wooden needles are just a little bit gentler. And these ones are just the like happy medium for me. And also they have the swivel cords, so you can, if you're not unscrewing them, you can actually do this and the cord will stay in the same place, and I quite like the cord as well. So I got these, and then eventually got some more just like single like sets of tips and cords to knit hats and whatnot. And yeah, I decided for my birthday from my parents I would get the set. So I went back and forth for a long time deciding on whether I wanted the 3.5 inch tips or the 5 inch. So 5 inch are these like sort of, I think this is like a regular length needle, whereas the 3.5s are obviously shorter and more like, you could use these really well for hats and like small circumference needles as well. And in the end I went, as you can see, for the short ones, partly because I can knit with them as well. I don't feel a huge difference because I generally don't like the tiny needles, but these ones are just long enough for me that it works. And then also because this set, while being like a lot more reasonably priced, again, they don't go up to like a size, I don't know, 8 millimeters or 10 millimeters or something crazy. Let's see, what's the biggest size? See, the biggest size on these ones is 6.5. And the longer tip set just have more large sizes, which again, I just don't need them, so why would I spend the money? So I decided to go for the short tip set, which comes with a couple of cables and connectors and all of that stuff. And my idea is, I think eventually I might just put everything in there. I only have, one set of short needles in there right now, but when we went on holiday, I just put other brand needle tips in here because there is enough space in there. And then I can just, I already have some of the longer tips anyways, so I can use all of these interchangeably. Interchangeably within the Licker system. And in case you didn't know, I think Licker is somehow connected to Knit Pro. So the cords from Knit Pro also go with the Licker, except they won't be the swivel ones. So I've actually been using the cords of my Knit Pro Nova sets with my Licker needles, and it's been working fine. So there you go. If you have both lying around, now you know you can use them interchangeably. So that has been a little acquisition for my birthday, which I am quite excited about. And I do like you just have everything in there. Like, I love taking an interchangeable needle set on holiday because whatever I might decide to knit, like, I will have what I need in there except for sock needles. I have used the Licker sock needles in the past and literally broke them twice within very short amounts of time because they're just quite fragile, and obviously the finer needle you get, the more easily they will break. I'm already with these ones. I'm using quite large sizes, like on my lento and stuff. These are 5 millimeters, but I'm still a little bit worried with my son. He's just gonna like sit on them and break them, but if he does, it'll be a needle tip. But so far I haven't broken any, and these seem a lot sturdier because obviously they're a lot thicker than the sock needles, so I think I will be okay. So yeah, that's just on the topic of needles. I've now made a massive mess with needles and yarn and everything everywhere, but yeah, there you go. Wasn't planning to talk about needles, but here we are. Anyways, moving on from the yarny needle chat, I think there's nothing really for me to talk about besides that. Like I said, spent the week being sick. Got my hair dyed, we've covered it all, we've talked about the weather, we've talked about the fact that I've not had enough coffee, so I'm going to rectify that now. Let me know if you like a short video or if you prefer the sort of longer, more chatty ones. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys very soon, possibly next weekend, possibly in 2 weeks. You never know, but I think this sort of regular but quick podcasting style suits me quite well. So whatever you are doing, I hope you guys are doing well, you're happy, you're healthy, you're safe, and hopefully you have some lovely yarn to play with. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you very, very soon. Happy knitting. Bye!